Just like people were super aggressive about the vaccine. You know, I hate seeing people die because they made a poor choice. But there's something insane about how many people were like pro-vaccine advocates that were shaming people and angry at people, and now they're dead. And they're not dead because they ran their time and they got old and they died and, you know, it's unfortunate, but it happens to all of us. No, they're dead young, like a lot of people. Not one, not 20. We don't even know what the real numbers are because it's not something the mainstream media covers because they've all been vaccinated too, and they're probably freaking the fuck out too.
Yeah, it's a huge number of people. We can detect that statistically. The trouble is that it's hard in any individual case to know whether or not you're looking at something that would have happened anyway.
Right.
So you remember John Ritter?
Yes.
From Three's Company?
Sure.
Died of a...
I worked with him.
Ruptured... Oh, you did?
Yeah, did an episode of News Radio with him. Super nice guy.
Good guy? Yeah,
Great
I got that
guy.
impression. Anyway, he died of a ruptured aorta, if I remember correctly, long before there was COVID vaccines.
Right.
So the point is, if that had happened last year,
right,
we'd all be saying, come on.
Of course.
He's in Hollywood, he got vaxxed, and now look at him.
Yep.
So it happens.
100%.
Right? But the rate at which it's happening has changed radically.
Exactly.
And the very people who say, oh, that's not the vaccine are very uninterested in figuring out what it is. So, you know, let's put two and two together.
Well, they don't even want to consider the vaccine, which is so crazy. If you called it anything else, if it wasn't called the vaccine, if it wasn't for COVID, okay, because COVID became so politicized, and it was like culturally so polarizing. Let's pretend it was for something else. And there was some medication, and the people that were taking that medication were dropping like flies. They would 100% make a correlation, and they would make it publicly, and it'd be in the news. Of course, it might not actually be in the news today because this is part of the problem with what we're dealing with advertising and the media, is that there's so much revenue that comes from pharmaceutical drug companies that there's just a reality about them reluctant to print or put any stories on television that are negative. There's too much money involved.
Right. There's too much money involved, and it becomes impossible to override this narrative. The narrative takes on a reality of its own, even though it is contradicted by the facts. And our scientific tools they're tremendously powerful at discovering patterns like this. It's not difficult to do,
right,
and yet we deliberately avoid using them in the ways that they were intended.
Do you think in the future we'll look back on this and there'll be some sort of a shift in the way we discuss it? You know, there's a lot of things in history that during the time where they were happening, I'm sure people were all like the McCarthy era. You know, I'm sure people thought it was very important to root out these communists, but they didn't exactly understand. Like, hey, you're calling a lot of people communists that aren't even communists. You're going after people that just went to meetings to find out what's going on. The world didn't exactly understand what that even meant back then. There was, you know, we look back at it now, the Red Scare is like a negative thing. It's a dangerous sort of negative aspect of our history.
Yeah, although, you know, I'm sure you're having the same experience where lots of stuff that you learned as a clear narrative, like, you know, the Red Scare took over people and it was like a witch hunt. And the answer is actually more nuanced than that. There was more truth to it than I was taught, right? The Rosenbergs really were guilty of passing secrets to the Russians.
Oh, yeah, there
right?
definitely was a lot of that.
So, you know, it's a mixed story.
Right.
You asked the question, though, if in the future we're going to have a different conversation about what's taking place. And I just want to put a little placeholder there. The answer kind of depends if there is a future. And I worry a lot that not only are we headed into chaos, but that we are going to be denied the ability to have a proper historical account of the present, that we're never going to understand what these stories were doing, why they played out the way they did, you know, why people disappeared when they did, and that's not healthy. You need to be able to create a record. It's never going to be perfect, but you need to be able to create a record of what took place that has been exposed to some kind of analytical standard so that you can correct your course. If you don't know what happened, you can't improve on your thought process going forward. And that's extremely dangerous. It's like, flying with a blindfold.